This is 17 News with continuing coronavirus coverage.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Nicole Gitsky. Governor Gavin Newsom is streaming live every day at noon to provide an update on the coronavirus crisis here in our state. Now today he will be talking about the revised 2020-21 budget proposal. We will bring him to you as soon as he becomes available. In the meantime, now let's go to the latest on the coronavirus here in Kern County. Public Health confirms 50 new cases along with 4 new deaths. Now that total number of cases sits at 1,403. Kern's death toll stands at 21. Now, about half of those deaths are from local nursing facilities. More than 11,000 tests for COVID-19 have come back negative. More than 1,900 tests are still pending, and more than 900 people have recovered from the virus. Well, only here on 17 News, after 6 months on the job, McFarland Interim City Manager Larry Pennell is stepping down. In his letter of resignation addressed to council members, Pennell said he needs to focus on his health, nothing he'll undergo spine surgery, and that months of rehab this summer at the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. Pennell wrote he's grateful to have helped the financial challenged city get a handle on various projects, including a new temporary police facility. Now, you may remember Pennell's career included 3 decades of public service, leading various Valley cities like Arvin and Wasco. Last year, he stepped in at the helm of McFarland's interim city manager after former city manager John Wooner disappeared and was later found dead in the Kern River Canyon. Tonight, the city council is set to discuss who may take Pennell's place. Pennell's resignation officially goes into effect on May 29th. And Kern County Supervisor Chair Leticia Perez says one testing site in East Bakersfield is offering not only free testing to anyone, but they are encouraging people to come back and get tested regularly. This week, Kern officials announced the opening of 6 new free testing sites in Arvin, Taft, Oildale, Delano, Ridgecrest, and Kern River Valley. They will be county-sponsored and have no screening criteria, plus a state-sponsored site at the Richard Prado Center in Northeast Bakersfield announced it would no longer require patients to meet testing criteria.
Any person in Kern County, despite your work status, despite having any symptoms at all, can be tested for free. Everybody has to do their part here. We've brought the testing facilities to the communities. Now it's up to the community to sign up, projectbaseline.com, and get tested. Help us open up our economy. Help us get back to work.
Perez is encouraging repeat testing. Experts agree widespread testing will be key in reopening our economy. The Richard Prado Center is open every day except Saturdays from 8 to 8, and you can make an appointment online at projectbaseline.com. Well, a $3 trillion economic stimulus bill will be considered in the House tomorrow, where it's likely to pass. The HEROES Act includes $275 billion for testing and healthcare worker hazard pay, and $1 trillion for state and local governments. The bill also renews direct payments to individuals and small businesses. Some Senate Republicans call the package a Democratic wish list that has no chance of passing the Senate. Senator Lindsey Graham says money from the last package should be exhausted before approving trillions more. Well, California Highway Patrol is investigating a hit and run that seriously hurts a cyclist in Northeast Bakersfield. CHP responded around 8 this morning to the intersection of Irene and Tulare Street. They say a possible gardening truck was traveling on Irene Street when they hit the bicyclist in the intersection. Officers say that truck stopped briefly, then took off. CHP is now looking for a white pickup truck pulling a white trailer. It's believed the truck has damage on its front end. Now, that cyclist was seriously hurt and taken to Kern Medical. If you saw that crash or have any information, you are asked to contact them. And a man is behind bars after leading police on a motorcycle chase. A Kern County Sheriff's deputy was in Oildale area last night when he saw a motorcyclist riding without a helmet. He tried to pull him over, but he refused to stop. The KCSO air unit began following him. According to KCSO, at one point the suspect, identified as 33-year-old Philip Perry, was speeding and driving down the wrong side of the road on Fruitvale Avenue. Deputies say he ended up leaving the motorcycle behind and running away near Coffee Road and River Lakes Drive. Perry was found and arrested. He faces several charges, including possession of a stolen vehicle and theft during a state of emergency. And across the state, a 5-year-old girl who was the subject of an Amber Alert has been found safe and her father is in custody. Police say Jose Suarez is accused of abducting his daughter Victoria Suarez yesterday morning. They were last seen in North Hollywood. The CHP issued an Amber Alert for the pair. Then yesterday evening, the father and daughter were found in Mar Vista, a community in West Los Angeles. Victoria was not hurt and her father was arrested. Happening today, local homeless people have an option to help them get back on their feet. The M Street Navigation Center in Bakersfield is opening. Now, we showed you an inside look last weekend on Kern County In Depth. The Community Action Partnership of Kern will manage the facility with the goal of moving people quickly off the streets into services and on to a better life.
This is just a small piece of the puzzle that will help alleviate homelessness in the community. It doesn't answer all the questions, but it's an important part of making that a reality here in Bakersfield and Kern County.
While it can host 150 people at full capacity, for now they will limit how many people live here because of the pandemic. This comes as the county reports a 95% increase in its homeless population since 2017. Now you can check out that episode of Kern County In Depth on our website, kget.com, in the features section. We also have a link to the Cape K website, which shows more about its services. And this morning, the Bakersfield Police Department held its annual Peace Officer Memorial Ceremony. It is to honor those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community. The BPD could not make it public event this year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We had it live this morning, plus the department streamed it all on their social media platforms today. And the California Living Museum says its great horned owl, who's been with the zoo for 17 years, Draco, was euthanized Tuesday because of a cancerous tumor, according to Lana Fain, the zoo's manager. Draco was a Dawson Ambassador animal and an exhibit bird at the zoo. Fain said Draco would often talk with guests with its hooting calls and was beloved by staff and guests. And the county has come up with a plan to help all nursing homes during this challenging time, and it's set to be up and running by tomorrow. The Kingston Healthcare Nursing Facility has confirmed 108 cases and 9 deaths, more than half of all COVID-related facilities across Kern. Last week, the state said all California nursing facilities must come up with plans to test residents and staff within 21 days, but the county says that's too long. So they're launching a COVID testing response team of medical professionals to help nursing facilities get to the testing and staffing they need. Technically, oversight of skilled nursing facilities is the state's responsibility. However, the county can get involved.
We recognize that this is a state-regulated facility, but these are our residents, these are our families, and we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we're answering the call.
Kern has already supplied personal protective equipment and on-site training to all skilled nursing facilities. So who's paying for this? Chief Communications Officer Megan Pearson says the goal is for the state to reimburse the county 100%, but she notes the reimbursement process could take months, if not years. And a reminder, you can help save lives by donating blood tomorrow. CityServe is teaming up with Houchin Blood Bank for their Give It Up blood drive. Donating blood only has a shelf life of 42 days and supplies are running low. The blood drive is Friday from 10 to 2 at CityServe on the corner of F Street and Golden State Avenue. CityServe says additional safety and social distancing measures will be put in place.
As we head into today, I hope you're enjoying it. Temperatures just gorgeous. And we woke up this morning on the cool note here of 54 degrees, our normal low 57 and our normal high 83. And today, I don't think we'll reach that. We're going to continue to be a little bit cooler than average. We've seen some gusty winds still in the mountains and deserts. Mojave, a 47-mile-per-hour gust out of the west. And then over into Bakersfield, we've had a 24-mile-per-hour gust. But today in the mountains, we'll probably see the gustiest of winds as the deserts, not so much here into the valley. A few clouds still lingering here near the bases of the mountains, some cumulus clouds, but sunny skies here for the valley. And temperature-wise, we will be pleasant. We are stuck in between another storm system to the north, and that will bring some rain into Northern California again today and lift on up here into southern Oregon as well as Nevada. But high pressure building on in. Now, by the weekend, weekend. We will warm up close to 90 on Sunday, but see that trough offshore? That will work through the Pacific Northwest down into Northern California next week, giving us a chance of showers, and the rain looks to be a little bit more plentiful than it did previously, and we could possibly see more than 1/10 of an inch here in some locations. So let's take a look at it. By Monday, we'll have a slight chance of showers here in the valley, and by Monday night, this computer model giving us 2/10 of an inch of rain. Up near Sacramento, 8/10 of an inch of rain. And then by Wednesday, look at that. I'm forecasting probably anywhere from 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch at the highest. So that is some decent rainfall for us, and we need it. It's been a dry month. We're about halfway through here. LA, only a few hundredths of an inch for next week's system. Nice day today, though. Sunny skies, 81 in Delano, 81 in Buttonwillow, 77 in Taft, 80 in Shafter, 80 in Porterville, 79 in Arvin, 56 in Pine Mountain Club, 64 in Fraser Park, 71 in Lake Isabella, 72 in Kernville, 62 in Tehachapi. Tonight will be into the 40s once again. And then in the desert, winds out of the west, 20 to 30, gusting to 45 miles per hour. Sneak peek of the next 17 days, warming up for the weekend. And then next week, still some 70s in the forecast. But the following week, we could heat back up to 90. And that's the last week of the month. Good air quality at 49. And here's your pinpoint forecast. Lower 80s Thursday and Friday, mid to upper 80s for the weekend. Next week, 70s. Overnight lows into the mid to upper 50s. So still cool at night. And in the mountains, lower 60s today, 70s for the weekend, back into the 60s next week with lows in the 40s. And in the Kern River Valley, 71 and windy. 76 on Friday, looking for lower 80s for the weekend, and back into the 60s next week with lows in the 50s. So we are definitely getting spoiled here by these temperatures.
Now, we do have Governor Gavin Newsom ready to speak. We will take it over to him right now and hear what he has to say.
After that budget, we started to work with the federal government on repatriation flights coming over from mainland China, 6 flights related to this coronavirus. We clearly, the time, had an expectation that this was serious, but none of us had a sense of how serious. The focus appropriate at the time was public health. But as you can see from this slide, not only was the state of California impacted by what was to come, but the entire nation and, of course, the world's economy. You can just see here in this chart, the U.S. recession that's been induced because of COVID-19, 26.5% decrease just in the spring in the nation's output. Just like that, almost a blink of an eye. In fiscal terms, certainly a blink of the eye, 60, 70, 80 days later, in a completely different position. Not just, again, the state of California, but the entire nation. The good news, though, for those that watch and follow the work that has been done here in this Capitol, work done by the previous administration, Governor Brown, the outstanding leadership that he advanced in terms of his fiscal stewardship of the state over the last 2 terms, combined with the talents and similar stewardship by legislative leaders, we enter into this moment in a much better place than we have previously entered into any recessionary moment. And I say that soberly, not naively, and I don't say that triumphantly. We are going to be dealing with challenges that we haven't faced in some time. But it is important to note, when we talked in terms of the surplus that we were debating last year, that operating surplus was in the range of $21.5 billion. That was last year's operating surplus that we were responsible for balancing. We debated that surplus, and we did a lot of things that I think make this situation a little bit better today. We paid down debt, the final $4.5 billion in debt from that wall of debt, the infamous wall of debt here in the state of California, that at the time it totaled $34.7 billion. The final payment was done last year, $4.5 billion, completely eliminating that debt. We were thoughtful, perhaps more so than even the last decade and a half, of using those surplus dollars very prudently, even more so than in prior years, where 88% of those one-time surplus dollars went to pay down one-time obligations or to invest in just one fiscal year's investment, meaning we tried to reduce the amount of ongoing expenditure substantially, thus the 12% reflected in this slide of new ongoing commitments. In budget terms, that is a fiscally conservative approach that we entered into last year, including, by the way, making commitments to pay down long-term obligations, pension obligations, not just paying off that wall of debt. That allowed us to increase our reserves to a record $16.2 billion. That was just one of a number of reserve accounts in the state. And I'll talk about not only that reserve account, but talk about a number of other accounts where we're able to put aside money, not just in that rainy day fund for a rainy day, but social safety net fund that we had set aside, some $524 million that was set aside in our budget under Prop 98 provisions for our public education system, including some economic uncertainty dollars that were set aside. A long-winded way of saying this: we weren't just asserting fiscal discipline, we were proving it, so much so that our bond rating increased twice last year and was increased to the highest level in over 2 decades. And as a consequence of that, borrowing costs for the state of California declined. It's a long way, again, of saying we're entering into this time of uncertainty in much better place than we entered into it in, for example, 2003, or for that matter, 2009, or in more contemporary terms, 2011. We are in a position where I can advance at least a commitment to you that while the numbers have certainly changed, our values remain. And we are committed, despite the headwinds of a $54.3 billion budget shortfall that we are entrusted to balance in the current fiscal year and into the next budget year, to advance not only an effort to balance the budget, but also to balance our principles and to advance our values. And those core values, those core principles, I think are well reflected in the slide you see next to me. Public education, public health, public safety, and always an eye on people that have been hit hardest by COVID-19. I am not naive by any stretch of the imagination. While as painful as the state's budget may be, personal budgets for so many of you watching are even more devastating. You've exhausted your savings. Your credit has been completely destroyed. You are desperate to get a sense of not only your fate, but our collective future. Some 4.6 million of you have filed for unemployment claims just since March 12th. We are at a time that's simply unprecedented. And when I mean unprecedented, we talk in terms of that Great Recession. That Great Recession, we had unemployment that peaked at 12.3% in the third quarter in 2010. Some 2.2 million people were out of work. I'll go back to what I just said. 4.6 million Californians just since March 12th have filed for unemployment insurance claims or assistance under our PUA program. 2.2 the peak in 2010. Now 4.6 million filing claims so far just since March. We are projecting in our documents we're putting out today in our May revise of that January budget that unemployment will peak north of 24.5%. One could argue we're already there. We are projecting, though, that as a peak. The budget year, we are projecting that we will come in roughly at about an 18% unemployment number. This is simply without precedent. These numbers, these unemployment numbers, the economic consequences of COVID-19 are not only being felt statistically, but they haven't been felt like this since the Great Depression. These are not normal numbers, even in a state so familiar with the vagaries of revenue, the increases and declines because of the volatility of our tax system. These are simply without precedent. in modern times. So the economic consequence is real, and that's why I just want folks to know that we are very mindful that while this may be an academic exercise, an intellectual exercise of balancing a state budget, this translates very differently to the folks watching that are trying simply to pay the bills, to keep their lights on, to be able to figure out some semblance of optimism about their capacity to get back to work and, once again, provide for their family and their future. Dreams, quite literally, being torn asunder in real time. Lives continuing to be lost, including 98 human beings that lost their life just in the last 24 hours related to COVID-19. These competing and confounding and compounding factors are front and center in terms of our consciousness and in terms of our mindset as we move forward to balance this year's budget. Let me now talk about this year's budget in more specific terms. The current budget proposal, the May revise that we're putting out, reflects a decline of 22.3% in revenue from the January budget. The budget we put out today is $133.9 billion.
We just heard the latest from Governor Gavin Newsom, and he is talking about the economic impacts from COVID-19 here in California alone. Now, he was talking about the increase in money that pretty much the lack of money that they set aside for this. This is something that they've never seen before. Now, one point he did mention that I think is worth mentioning too is in 2010, there was a 2.2 million who filed for unemployment here in California. Just since March 12th, 4.6 million Californians have filed for unemployment claims. So he is pretty much talking about how they are revising that state budget for this year and how it was completely changed around because of the coronavirus pandemic. Now, you can continue watching what Governor Gavin Newsom has to say on our live stream, on our Facebook page, and on our website, kget.com.
This is 17 News with continuing coronavirus coverage.